Hey guys, tonight we're going back, not to castles and kings, but to the edges of history, where things didn't always make it into paintings or textbooks. We're heading to ancient Peru, a place where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual were so blurred that sleep wasn't just about resting. It was a doorway into another realm. You probably won't survive this. Imagine, for a moment, that your sleep could be manipulated by shamans who would guide you on a journey into the spirit world. Sounds intense, doesn't it? But before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're at it, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. It's always strangely comforting to see who else is drifting off to these quiet stories. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The ancient Peruvians were no strangers to the mystical and mysterious. In fact, their entire worldview was built around a deep connection to the spiritual realm. Dreaming wasn't just some random event. It was an integral part of their existence. Imagine this. Your dreams weren't just something your mind made up as you slept. Instead, they were believed to be a portal to another world, a world inhabited by spirits, ancestors, and deities. For the Peruvians, sleep was an active spiritual practice, and while most cultures see dreams as mere subconscious thoughts, the ancient Peruvians knew something more. They saw dreams as profound messages, gifts, and, most intriguingly, traps. These weren't just any dreams. The Peruvians saw them as a way to communicate with forces beyond their comprehension, to connect with ancestors who could influence their fate. And sleep, to them, wasn't just a time of unconsciousness. It was a ritual, a process that involved the shamanic world. In their view, everything had a spirit. Each stone, tree, and animal had its own energy and consciousness, and dreams were the vehicle that carried these spirits to their sleeping minds. These dreams didn't just happen by chance. They were believed to be structured, intentional, and deeply entwined with their sense of the world. In fact, dreams were more than a spiritual experience. They were vital to daily life. They were often seen as messages that shaped the decisions the Peruvians made during their waking hours. This is where it gets even more fascinating. They believed they could control these dreams, trap them, and shape them. Dreams, in their minds, could be captured, manipulated, and used to bring about certain results, like healing or finding food. The Peruvians didn't just passively wait for dreams to happen. They actively sought to influence them. And that's where the concept of the dream trap comes into play. Imagine, for a moment, that you could manipulate the world of sleep, capture a dream, and use it to guide your life. The ancient Peruvians believed they could do just that. Their shamans, revered as spiritual guides, developed techniques to not only interpret these dreams, but also to trap them and draw meaning from them for the benefit of the entire community. But how exactly did they do this? Well, that's where their intricate rituals, spiritual beliefs, and even their material culture come into play. You see, it wasn't just about a nightly prayer or meditation before bed. It was about creating a space, a ritualistic environment, in which the dreamer could safely enter the spirit world and return with answers. The dream trap wasn't a physical object, as you might imagine, but rather a network of practices, rituals, and sacred symbols woven into their lives. For these ancient people, the act of dreaming was as much about connection as it was about control. Shamans would use sacred objects, artifacts that might seem trivial to us today, but which were incredibly powerful in their world. These objects might be ceremonial tools, textiles, or natural items like feathers and stones. They would be used to set the stage for a dream journey, guiding the dreamer's spirit to the right place and helping them trap the answers they sought. Of course, this was no easy task. Dreaming wasn't an effortless process. Peruvians believed that entering the spiritual world required preparation, both physically and mentally. They had to be in the right mindset, surrounded by the right elements, to ensure that their sleep would be meaningful and not just a random sequence of images. That's why they dedicated so much energy to perfecting their dream rituals. But, as we'll soon discover, this wasn't just a spiritual or cultural belief. It was also deeply practical. The Peruvians knew that dreams could offer solutions to the everyday problems they faced: hunting, healing, agriculture. They weren't merely looking for mystical experiences. They wanted dreams that could provide real-world results. And that's the allure of the dream trap, the possibility that sleep could give them an edge in life, a direct connection to divine guidance. Historians still argue whether the dream trap was unique to the Peruvians or whether it was a practice shared by other ancient cultures. While there's no definitive answer, it's clear that the Peruvians' understanding of dreams was far more sophisticated than most cultures of the time. Their belief that dreams were both a gift and a tool is a testament to their deep connection with the spiritual world, a world that was as real and tangible to them as the earth beneath their feet. Now, before we dive deeper into the specifics of how they crafted the dream trap, it's crucial to understand just how intertwined spirituality was with their daily lives. For the ancient Peruvians, everything had a purpose, and every action, whether waking or sleeping, was tied to the unseen forces of the spirit world. The dream trap, then, wasn't just a nighttime activity. It was a practice that could guide their fate in both life and death. So, let's take a moment to reflect on this. The next time you close your eyes, think about how different your sleep might be if it held the power to unlock answers from the universe. That's the incredible reality the Peruvians lived in, where dreams weren't just fleeting moments in time, but sacred, controlled experiences that held the power to change the course of their lives. In the world of ancient Peru, dreams weren't just random flashes of the mind during sleep. They were sacred events, tied to the spiritual fabric of the universe. The Peruvians believed that dreams were the soul's way of interacting with the spirit world, a space where communication with ancestors, deities, and nature itself was possible. But the real question is, how did they manage to harness these dreams and ensure they were not just chaotic visions, but meaningful, controllable experiences? The answer lies in the spiritual practices and rituals that were integral to their daily lives. For the ancient Peruvians, dreaming was more than just a passive act. It was an active ritual. A dream was considered a form of communication, a medium through which spiritual forces could intervene in the affairs of the living. This belief shaped their entire approach to sleep. Shamans, the spiritual leaders of their communities, played a crucial role in mediating between the human world and the world of dreams. They were the guides, the interpreters, and the orchestrators of these dream rituals. Dreams, as perceived by the Peruvians, had distinct layers of meaning. They weren't merely reflections of one's subconscious desires or fears. They were seen as messages that could reveal hidden truths, warn of dangers, or provide insights into the future. However, these dreams weren't random. Shamans believed that the spiritual realm was filled with both benevolent and malevolent forces. To ensure that dreams served their intended purpose, whether it was for healing, guidance, or prophecy, certain rituals were necessary. These rituals, developed over centuries, became a carefully honed art. To begin with, the dreamer needed to prepare themselves for the journey. This preparation wasn't simply about lying down and trying to sleep. It was a conscious, deliberate process. Shamans would often guide their people through various exercises to attune their spirits to the dream world. Meditation, fasting, and even symbolic rituals involving sacred plants were common practices used to induce the right mental state for dream journeying. The process was designed to heighten the dreamer's spiritual awareness, to create a bridge between the conscious and unconscious minds. But the most fascinating part of this entire process was the concept of controlling the dreams themselves. The ancient Peruvians didn't just hope for divine intervention. They took steps to encourage it. Shamans used ritual objects, such as carved figurines, sacred stones, and ceremonial tools, to help trap or guide dreams. These objects, imbued with spiritual significance, were believed to serve as anchors that could direct the dreamer's spirit to specific realms or entities. Whether it was a stone carved with the image of a mountain spirit or a figure of a jaguar, these items acted as powerful symbols that tethered the dreamer to a particular type of dream. Nature played an essential role in this practice. Shamans often drew inspiration from the world around them, especially the natural environment. Plants, animals, and the land itself were considered potent sources of energy and spiritual wisdom. For example, the jaguar, a powerful and revered animal in Peruvian culture, was often used as a symbol in dreams. Its strength and stealth were thought to help the dreamer navigate the spiritual world with greater power and insight. Likewise, sacred plants like the San Pedro cactus were used to induce visions and enhance the clarity of the dream journey. These plants weren't just medicinal, they were considered to be gateways to other realms, tools that could open the mind to a higher consciousness. As you might imagine, the dream rituals of the Peruvians weren't a solitary affair. These practices were deeply communal. Shamans didn't just perform rituals for individuals, they performed them for entire communities. A dream interpreted by a shaman could have implications for the entire village. If the dream was prophetic, the shaman would share its meaning with the community, guiding everyone in how to proceed with matters such as planting crops, preparing for battle, or even choosing a leader. The dream trap, in this context, was not just a personal experience. It was a communal one, deeply interwoven with the lives of everyone in the society. But not every dream was an easy, tranquil journey. While the Peruvians believed in the power of dreams to bring healing and insight, they also recognized that dreams could be dangerous. Malignant spirits, jealous ancestors, and dark forces roamed the dream world, and a careless dreamer could unwittingly invite these forces into their lives. The role of the shaman, therefore, was not just to interpret dreams, but to protect the dreamer from these potential dangers. This protective aspect of the shamanic practice is what led to the creation of the dream trap. A dream trap, in its simplest form, was a technique used to trap a powerful, positive dream or spirit, while keeping harmful ones at bay. By using sacred symbols, rituals, and protective charms, the Peruvians created an environment that could filter out negative energies while allowing only beneficial dreams to reach the dreamer. The dream trap wasn't about capturing dreams in the sense of physical entrapment. It was more about directing the flow of energy, ensuring that the dreamer could access the right visions without interference from harmful forces. Historians still debate the exact mechanisms behind the dream trap. Was it purely symbolic, a way for shamans to exert control over their communities? Or was there a deeper, more mystical truth to these practices, something that went beyond mere psychological or cultural explanations? Some scholars believe that the Peruvians, through their intricate rituals and the use of psychoactive plants, may have been tapping into altered states of consciousness that allowed them to navigate these spiritual realms more effectively. Others argue that the dream trap was more about community cohesion, binding the people together through shared rituals and common beliefs. What is clear, however, is that the Peruvians saw dreams as an essential part of life, not as a fleeting or meaningless phenomenon. Dreams were seen as a conduit to spiritual power, a means of connecting with the divine. And in this spiritual world, the dream trap played a pivotal role in guiding and protecting those who sought its power. As we continue this journey into the dream world of ancient Peru, it's important to understand the significance of the people who guided others through these dream realms, the shamans. In ancient Peru, shamans were much more than just spiritual leaders. They were the bridge between the human world and the vast, mysterious spiritual realm that lay beyond. These shamans were the ones who not only interpreted dreams, but also had the power to shape them, to direct the flow of energies, and to trap visions in ways that would benefit their communities. Shamans were highly revered in their societies, and their training was intensive. Becoming a shaman wasn't something that could be done overnight. It required years of preparation, deep study, and personal experience with both the physical and spiritual worlds. The training involved understanding sacred plants, symbols, rituals, and the complex relationship between the spiritual and physical realms. Shamans were often chosen at a young age based on their unique qualities, such as heightened sensitivity to spiritual energies, unusual dreams, or even the ability to enter trance-like states. Once selected, they would undergo years of rigorous training, sometimes under the guidance of a senior shaman, before they could begin performing rituals and leading others in their community. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Peruvian shamanic practice was the use of plant medicine to enhance the dream journey. Plants like the San Pedro cactus or the ayahuasca vine, which contain psychoactive compounds, were used to induce visions, enhance spiritual awareness, and open the door to other realms. The shamans didn't view these plants as simply tools for drug-induced experiences. Instead, they believed these plants held deep spiritual power, serving as sacred allies that helped them connect with the divine and communicate with the spirit world. The use of these plants during rituals wasn't just about achieving a heightened state of mind. It was about attuning the shaman to the energies of the universe, allowing them to guide others through the complex world of dreams. But the power of the shaman wasn't limited to their ability to interpret dreams. It also extended to their role in guiding the dreams of others. The shaman would perform specific rituals designed to direct the dreamer's journey, ensuring that the dream would bring back valuable insights. This is where the concept of the dream trap truly came to life. The shamans had learned how to manipulate the dream realm, trapping dreams that were beneficial and allowing them to guide the individual through them. This was more than just a personal endeavor. The fate of the entire community sometimes rested on the shaman's ability to interpret and guide these dreams. The process was complex. Shamans would often use ritual objects like carved figurines or stones to create a space where the dreamer could safely enter the spiritual world. These objects were not mere tools. They were believed to hold a powerful spiritual charge, one that could influence the outcome of the dream. Shamans would often charge these objects with their own spiritual energy, infusing them with specific intentions before they were used in the dream ritual. The object would act as both a guide and a protector, ensuring that the dreamer's journey was fruitful and that they returned with the answers they sought. The dream trap, then, was not just a passive tool, but an active process. The dreamer wasn't simply drifting into sleep. They were entering a carefully crafted, spiritual landscape designed to channel the dreamer's spirit toward certain insights. The shamanic rituals helped to ensure that the dreamer would encounter only the right kind of spirits, the ones that could offer wisdom, guidance, and protection. If the dreamer was to face challenges in the spiritual world, they would do so with the shaman's guidance, ensuring that they didn't fall prey to malevolent forces. This idea of protecting the dreamer from dark spirits and guiding them toward enlightenment was central to the Peruvian dream practices. The influence of the Andes Mountains cannot be understated in this context. The mountainous landscape of Peru was not just a backdrop. It was deeply woven into the spiritual fabric of the culture. The mountains were seen as sacred places, homes to powerful spirits and deities. The Peruvians believed that certain dreams could only be accessed by traveling to these mountains in the spirit realm, guided by the shamans. The vast, awe-inspiring peaks of the Andes served as a powerful symbol of both the challenges and rewards that came with entering the spiritual world. The journey to these high places wasn't just physical. It was also metaphysical, an ascent into the realm of divine knowledge. But the Andean landscape also played a practical role in the rituals. Shamans would often travel into the mountains to seek visions or to perform sacred ceremonies. These remote, quiet places were considered the perfect environment for entering altered states of consciousness, free from the distractions of daily life. It was in these sacred spaces, far from the noise and bustle of the village, that the shamans were able to connect most deeply with the spirit world. The high altitudes, the crisp air, and the solitude of the mountains provided an ideal environment for the kind of introspection and spiritual work that was necessary for effective dream manipulation. The mountains, therefore, acted as both a literal and symbolic destination for the dreamer's spiritual journey. Dreams that were sought after in these sacred places were seen as particularly powerful and insightful. They were believed to be messages from the gods, guiding the dreamer toward a path of spiritual enlightenment or providing warnings about future events. In the Andes, the dream trap was more than just a way of manipulating the subconscious. It was a means of connecting with the divine forces that shaped the world. Historians still debate whether the Peruvians' use of the mountains in their dream practices was purely symbolic, or whether there was a more profound, mystical connection to these sacred sites. Some scholars argue that the mountains themselves were believed to be portals to other realms, while others suggest that the shamans simply used these remote locations to facilitate a deeper connection to the divine. Regardless of the interpretation, it's clear that the Andean landscape played an important role in the spiritual practices of the ancient Peruvians, especially when it came to the manipulation of dreams. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, imagine for a moment that your dreams could be guided, controlled, and shaped by the power of the Andes themselves, and by the shamans who knew the secrets of the spirit world. The dream trap wasn't just a cultural artifact. It was a tool that allowed the Peruvians to bridge the gap between the physical world and the mystical, spiritual realms, all through the power of dreams. By now, you're probably wondering, how did the Peruvians actually craft this mystical dream trap in the physical world? The truth is, it wasn't some simple contraption that could be built with everyday materials. Instead, it was a complex system of symbols, rituals, and sacred objects, each carefully selected and used to weave the fabric of dreams in ways that were both protective and purposeful. For the ancient Peruvians, crafting the dream trap was an art form, a spiritual practice as much as a physical one. The dream trap wasn't just about trapping dreams in the way we might imagine capturing something in a net. It was more about creating the right conditions for dreams to happen, conditions in which the dreamer could be guided safely through the spiritual world without interference from malevolent forces. In this sense, the dream trap was both a physical space and a metaphysical one, carefully crafted through ritual and intention. One of the key elements in creating the dream trap was the use of sacred objects. These objects, often simple but deeply imbued with spiritual significance, were essential tools for the shaman. They were believed to have the power to direct spiritual energies, guiding the dreamer toward beneficial dreams and protecting them from harmful ones. These objects could be anything from intricately carved figurines to ritual stones, feathers, and even pieces of cloth woven with sacred symbols. The materials used in these objects were chosen carefully, often based on their association with certain spiritual forces or deities. Take, for example, the jaguar. This animal, revered for its strength and stealth, was often used in dream rituals as a symbol of protection and guidance. Jaguars were frequently carved into figurines or depicted on sacred textiles. When used in rituals, these symbols were believed to imbue the dreamer with the animal's power, allowing them to navigate the spirit world with greater clarity and strength. In this way, the jaguar became part of the dream trap, an entity that could protect the dreamer as they journeyed through the spiritual realm. Another crucial element in the creation of the dream trap was the use of sacred plants. These plants weren't just tools for inducing altered states of consciousness. They were considered to be direct conduits to the spirit world. The shamans would use these plants to enhance their own spiritual abilities and to guide others through the dream journey. Plants like the San Pedro cactus and the ayahuasca vine were central to these practices. When consumed in specific ritual contexts, these plants were believed to open the door to other realms, allowing the dreamer to journey deep into the spiritual world and bring back wisdom, protection, or guidance. But these plants weren't just consumed randomly. They were used in highly structured rituals, with precise dosages and methods of preparation. The shamans didn't just offer these plants casually. They were treated with the utmost respect and reverence. The plants were seen as sacred allies, offering the dreamer a pathway to the divine. Shamans believed that these plants could help sharpen the dreamer's spiritual senses, allowing them to perceive the world in ways that were otherwise hidden from normal consciousness, The dream trap itself, though not a literal object, was created by setting the right spiritual conditions. This involved creating a space where the dreamer could enter the spirit world and return safely with the answers they sought. The space was often prepared through a combination of physical actions, such as cleansing the area with smoke from sacred plants, and mental preparation, such as chanting or prayer. These rituals were designed to clear the dreamer's mind and body of negative influences and to invite only the positive, protective spirits into their dreams. What's truly remarkable about these rituals is the way in which they involved the entire community. The dream trap wasn't just a personal experience. It was deeply communal. Shamans didn't just perform these rituals alone. They involved the whole village, ensuring that everyone had access to the wisdom and guidance offered by dreams. When a powerful dream was captured, the shaman would share its meaning with the community, guiding them in how to act based on the messages received. Whether it was guidance on when to plant crops, warnings about an impending storm, or advice on how to treat a sick member of the village, dreams played an essential role in the decision-making processes of the community. Historians still debate the exact purpose of these communal dream rituals. Some believe they were primarily about maintaining social order, as they helped guide the community in matters of daily life. Others argue that the dream rituals were more about individual spiritual growth, with the community simply benefiting from the shared wisdom. Either way, it's clear that the dream trap was a communal tool, one that served the collective as much as the individual. It allowed the people of ancient Peru to navigate the complexities of life with the guidance of their ancestors, deities, and the spirits of the natural world. But the dream trap wasn't without its risks. Not all dreams were beneficial. As we've seen, the spiritual world was not just a place of light and guidance. It was also home to malevolent forces, dark spirits that could lead the dreamer astray. The Peruvians knew this, and that's why they took such care in crafting their dream rituals. They understood that dreams could be dangerous, especially if they were not properly guided. Shamans were trained to protect themselves and their communities from these dark forces, using their knowledge of sacred rituals and protective symbols to ward off malevolent spirits. The concept of the dream trap, then, was not just about controlling dreams. It was about ensuring that the dreamer had the right tools to navigate the spiritual world safely. It was a way to filter out the harmful and to trap only the beneficial, guiding the dreamer toward wisdom, insight, and protection. In this way, the dream trap was a vital part of Peruvian culture, one that served both the individual and the community, allowing them to interact with the spiritual realm in a controlled and meaningful way. By now, you may be wondering what exactly happened when the dream trap was set into motion, and how this ancient system affected daily life. Was it simply about avoiding bad dreams? Or was there a deeper, more complex connection between the dreamer and the spirit world? The answer, of course, is both. The dream trap was a way to ensure the dreamer would enter a world where both protection and enlightenment were possible. And just as important, it was a way to help the community navigate the spiritual forces that shaped their lives. Once the shaman had performed the ritual and set the dream trap into motion, the dreamer was ready to enter the dream world. The process of journeying into this world was not something that could be done lightly. The Peruvians understood that entering the spiritual realm required mental and physical preparation. It wasn't just about falling asleep. It was about consciously shifting one's awareness and inviting the dream spirit to guide them. The dreamer was expected to remain mindful, aware of their spiritual surroundings, while also surrendering to the visions that might come. This wasn't just a passive act. The dreamer had a role to play in the ritual. Much like the shaman, they had to be open to the messages they would receive, whether those messages came in the form of cryptic visions, symbols, or clear guidance from the spiritual realm. But unlike the shaman, who was actively interpreting the dream journey for others, the dreamer was expected to personally engage with the visions they encountered. In this sense, the dream was not just a tool for spiritual insight. It was an interactive experience, a dialogue between the dreamer and the divine forces of the universe. What made this process even more fascinating was the use of what we might consider a type of dream interpretation. The Peruvians didn't simply leave the dreamer to figure out the meaning of their dreams on their own. No, the shaman was there to guide the interpretation, to help the dreamer decode the messages hidden within their visions. The dream itself was seen as a form of communication, but it was often symbolic, cryptic, and layered with meaning. And this is where the skill of the shaman came into play. Dream interpretation was considered an art, one that required years of training and a deep understanding of the spiritual world. The shaman's job wasn't simply to guess what the dream meant. Instead, they used a complex set of symbols, stories, and rituals to decode the dream's meaning. Sometimes, this interpretation involved reading the physical signs of the dreamer, how they reacted to the dream, what emotions were triggered during the journey. Other times, it involved a more symbolic reading of the dream's imagery, linking it back to the larger spiritual narrative of the community. Every dream had a message, and it was the shaman's responsibility to ensure that the dreamer understood that message and acted accordingly. The results of the dream trap could be both enlightening and practical. For example, dreams were frequently used as a form of guidance in matters of agriculture. The Peruvians, who lived in a region where the land was unpredictable, believed that the spirit world could reveal when it was the right time to plant crops or harvest. A dream could provide specific guidance on which crops to focus on, which areas of the land were most fertile, and even the best times to plant and harvest. This practical guidance helped the people of ancient Peru navigate the challenges of their environment with greater success. Similarly, dreams played a crucial role in the political and social decisions of the community. If a chief or leader was uncertain about a decision, they would often turn to the dream realm for answers. A dream interpreted by the shaman could provide crucial insight into the fate of the community, whether a conflict would be resolved peacefully or whether disaster was looming on the horizon. The wisdom of the ancestors, passed down through the dream trap, became a tool for decision-making in both personal and collective matters. But dreams didn't just serve practical purposes. They were also used for healing. Shamans often used dreams to diagnose illness, both physical and spiritual. The healing process began with the dream, and the dreamer's journey could reveal the source of their ailment, whether it was a physical injury, a spiritual imbalance, or the result of a curse. Once the source was identified, the shaman would use their knowledge of herbs, rituals, and spiritual practices to help the dreamer heal. The healing process often involved another dream journey, where the shaman would guide the dreamer to the right spiritual realm to receive the healing they needed. The entire process was deeply interconnected, a balance between the physical, mental, and spiritual realms. One of the more fascinating aspects of the dream trap was its connection to death. The ancient Peruvians did not see death as an end, but as a transition, a journey to another realm. And dreams played a key role in guiding the soul through that transition. In some cases, the dream trap was used to prepare the soul for its journey into the afterlife. Shamans would help the dying person journey into the spirit world through dreams, ensuring that their soul would be protected and guided as they crossed over. The connection between dreams and death was one of the most sacred aspects of Peruvian spiritual practice, as it bridged the gap between life and the afterlife. Of course, the dream trap wasn't foolproof. Not all dreams were successful in guiding the dreamer, and sometimes the forces of the spiritual world could be unpredictable. When the dream trap didn't work as intended, when the dreamer failed to receive guidance, or when the dream was too cryptic, it could lead to confusion and fear. But even in these moments, the Peruvians had faith that the spirits were working in mysterious ways, guiding them toward the answers they needed, even if those answers weren't always immediately clear. So, the dream trap, much like the rest of the spiritual practices in ancient Peru, was not about absolute control. It was about guidance, protection, and maintaining a connection to the spiritual world that could offer wisdom and answers. It was about creating a space where dreams could be shaped and interpreted, where the dreamer's journey was both a personal and communal experience. In this world, dreams weren't random. They were tools that helped guide the living, heal the sick, and shape the future. As the journey through the dream trap continues, we now find ourselves facing a crucial question. How did the ancient Peruvians understand the concept of the soul? And how did this view shape their practices surrounding dreams? To fully comprehend the significance of the dream trap, we need to delve into the Peruvians' complex understanding of the soul and its connection to the spiritual and physical realms. In ancient Peru, the soul wasn't seen as a singular entity, but rather as something multifaceted. The Peruvians believed that a person's soul was made up of different parts, each corresponding to different aspects of their being. This understanding of the soul was deeply intertwined with their view of dreams. For them, dreams were not just the random firing of neurons during sleep. They were manifestations of the soul's journey into the spirit world, and they offered a glimpse into the deeper layers of the self. One of the most important aspects of the Peruvian soul was the belief in its connection to the natural world. Every living being, whether human, animal, or plant, had its own soul. This belief was reflected in the way dreams were perceived. A dream, in this context, wasn't just a private experience for the dreamer. It was a way of connecting with the souls of the earth, the animals, and the ancestors. Through dreams, the Peruvians believed they could communicate with the spirits of the land and the ancestors who had passed on. These dreams were considered sacred, and they played a vital role in maintaining harmony between the living and the spiritual world. This belief in the interconnectedness of all souls made the dream trap an even more powerful tool. By trapping dreams, the Peruvians weren't just capturing fragments of the unconscious mind. They were capturing the very essence of the spiritual forces that governed their world. The ritual objects, sacred plants, and symbols used in the dream trap were all designed to help the dreamer tap into this deep, interconnected web of spiritual energy. Shamans, with their extensive knowledge of the spiritual world, acted as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms, guiding the dreamer's soul to the right places and ensuring that they would return with the wisdom they sought. What's truly fascinating is how this concept of the soul and dreams also connected to the idea of the afterlife. In Peruvian culture, death was not seen as an end, but as a transition, a journey to the spirit world. The Peruvians believed that the soul continued its journey after death, moving through different realms and levels of existence. Dreams, in this context, were seen as a preview of this afterlife journey. The spiritual practices surrounding dreams were designed not only to provide guidance in the waking world, but also to prepare the soul for the transition into the afterlife. The dream trap played a key role in this process. By trapping positive dreams and filtering out the negative, the shamans were essentially preparing the soul for its journey beyond the physical world. The rituals and symbols used in the dream trap helped to ensure that the soul would travel safely through the spirit world, protected from malevolent forces. In many ways, the dream trap was a practice that bridged the gap between life and death, guiding the soul on its journey through both realms. Historians still argue whether the Peruvians truly believed in an afterlife in the way we think of it today. Some suggest that their understanding of death was more cyclical, viewing the afterlife as a continuation of life rather than a final destination. Others believe that the Peruvians viewed death as a transformation, a process in which the soul moved into a different phase of existence. Regardless of the interpretation, it's clear that the Peruvians saw dreams as integral to the soul's journey, not just in life, but in death as well. This connection between dreams, the soul, and the afterlife also highlights the Peruvians' deep reverence for the ancestors. Ancestors were not seen as distant figures from the past. They were active participants in the spiritual lives of the living. Dreams were one of the ways in which the living could communicate with the spirits of their ancestors, seeking their guidance and protection. In this way, the dream trap was not just a personal tool for the individual dreamer. It was a communal one, allowing the entire community to connect with the wisdom of the ancestors. The dream trap, therefore, wasn't just about controlling dreams. It was about maintaining the balance between life, death, and the spirit world. It was about creating a space where the soul could interact with the divine, receive guidance, and prepare for its eventual journey into the afterlife. The ancient Peruvians saw the dream world as a sacred space, one that required respect, preparation, and guidance. The shamans, with their deep spiritual knowledge, were the ones who held the keys to this world, guiding the souls of their people toward enlightenment, protection, and ultimately, a safe journey into the next phase of existence. What's even more intriguing is the way these practices have influenced modern-day spirituality. While the specific practices surrounding the dream trap may have faded into history, the core beliefs about the soul and the spirit world remain alive in the cultural consciousness of Peru. Even today, shamans in the Andean region continue to practice rituals that involve dreams, the soul, and the spiritual realm. The dream trap, in some form, lives on as a part of the spiritual fabric of the land, connecting the modern-day people of Peru with their ancient ancestors and the spiritual forces that have always shaped their world. So, as you reflect on the ancient Peruvians and their connection to the spiritual world through dreams, imagine what it would be like to live in a world where dreams were not just fleeting images, but gateways to other realms, guided by the wisdom of the past and the protection of the ancestors. That's the world the Peruvians inhabited, where every dream had the potential to guide, protect, and shape the future. As we move deeper into the spiritual practices surrounding dreams, it's essential to consider how the physical environment played a crucial role in the dream trap. The natural world wasn't just a backdrop to daily life for the ancient Peruvians. It was a living, breathing entity that was intricately connected to the spirit world. This connection between the physical and spiritual realms helped shape how dreams were interpreted and experienced. For the Peruvians, the land itself was imbued with spiritual significance, and this connection directly influenced their dream practices. The Andes Mountains, towering and majestic, were seen as sacred. They were not merely physical structures, but were believed to be the homes of powerful gods, spirits, and ancestors. For the Peruvians, these mountains were the axis mundi, the center of the world, connecting the earthly realm with the divine. Dreams, in this context, weren't simply disconnected experiences that took place in the mind. Instead, they were believed to be linked to the very forces that shaped the physical world. The mountains, the rivers, the animals, and the plants, they all played a part in the larger spiritual narrative of the Peruvians, and their influence extended into the realm of dreams. The dream trap, then, was not just a human endeavor. It was an effort to align the dreamer's soul with the spiritual energies of the land itself. Shamans often performed their rituals in sacred spaces, often in the mountains, where they could connect with the natural forces more deeply. The act of communing with the spirits was believed to be amplified in these sacred places. The landscape, with its towering peaks, flowing rivers, and dense forests, was seen as a conduit for spiritual power. These natural spaces were where the dreamer could more effectively enter the spirit world, and where the shamans could guide them with greater precision. This connection between nature and dreams was not just abstract or metaphorical. It was deeply practical. Nature was viewed as a living, interconnected force, and dreams were seen as a way to tap into this force. Shamans would often perform rituals that involved symbolic acts, like walking through certain areas of the land, to align themselves with the energies of the earth. The energy of the land, combined with the shaman's spiritual knowledge, was believed to enhance the dreamer's ability to navigate the spiritual world. In this sense, the dream trap was a product of both human intention and natural forces. The sacred plants used in dream rituals were also deeply tied to the land. Many of the plants used by the Peruvians were not only physical substances, they were considered to be living, breathing entities with their own spiritual energy. The San Pedro cactus, for instance, was seen as a gateway to the spirit world. Shamans would use these plants to enhance their dreams, allowing them to connect with the spiritual realm in ways that were otherwise impossible. But the plants themselves were more than just tools. They were believed to be allies, offering guidance and protection during the dream journey. Interestingly, the relationship between the Peruvian people and the natural world goes beyond just dreams and rituals. It extends into their entire worldview. For the Peruvians, everything in the world had a spirit. Each plant, animal, rock, and river was a living entity with its own consciousness and energy. This worldview is known as animism, and it was central to their religious and spiritual practices. The dream trap was one manifestation of this animistic belief, a way to connect with the spirits of the natural world and harness their energy for the benefit of the community. The Peruvians also believed that certain animals, like the jaguar, held powerful spiritual significance. The jaguar, for example, was revered as a guardian spirit and was often depicted in dream rituals. In the dream world, animals played a vital role in guiding the dreamer through the spiritual realm. The jaguar, with its strength and stealth, was seen as a protector, helping the dreamer navigate the challenges of the spirit world. This connection between the dream trap and the animal kingdom further emphasized the idea that nature was an active participant in the dream process, not just a passive backdrop. But it wasn't just the mountains and animals that shaped the dream trap. It was the entire landscape. The Peruvians viewed their environment as a sacred space where every element played a role in the larger spiritual narrative. Rivers, forests, and even the sky were seen as vital forces in the spiritual journey. The dream trap, in this sense, was a way to align the dreamer's soul with the rhythms and energies of the natural world. Shamans didn't just perform rituals. They worked to harmonize the dreamer with the forces of the land, guiding them towards spiritual growth and protection. This understanding of the natural world as a living, spiritual entity is one of the most striking aspects of the Peruvian worldview. It's a worldview that sees no separation between the physical and spiritual realms, where nature is not only a source of sustenance, but also a source of wisdom, guidance, and protection. The dream trap, in this context, wasn't just a practice. It was an ongoing dialogue with the spirits of the land, a way to tap into the deeper currents of the world around them. Even today, in modern Peru, remnants of this deep connection to nature can be seen. While the specific practices of the dream trap may have faded, the reverence for the natural world and its spiritual significance remains alive. The mountains, rivers, and forests still hold a sacred place in the hearts of the people, and the spirit world is still considered an active, living force. Shamans continue to guide people in their spiritual journeys, helping them navigate the complexities of life with the wisdom of the land. In many ways, the dream trap lives on, not just as a historical practice, but as a living tradition, passed down through the generations. As you drift into sleep tonight, imagine how different your dreams might be if they were not just reflections of your mind, but messages from the very land itself. What would it be like to dream not just of distant places, but of the sacred mountains and rivers that form the backbone of your world? In the world of the ancient Peruvians, that was the reality. The dream trap was a way of connecting not just with the unseen world, but with the living, breathing forces of nature. Now that we've explored the spiritual landscape of the dream trap, it's time to look at the role of symbols, sacred geometry, and rituals in the Peruvian dream practices. These elements were not just decorative, they were integral to the dream trap itself. Symbols were not only the language of the spiritual realm, but they also served as the tools through which the Peruvians navigated their dreams. The intricacy of these symbols, their connection to the natural world, and their purpose in the spiritual journey made them indispensable to the dream process. For the ancient Peruvians, symbols were the key to unlocking the hidden meanings within dreams. But these weren't just random shapes or images. Every symbol had a deep spiritual significance, often tied to specific deities, animals, or forces of nature. In fact, these symbols acted as a kind of spiritual shorthand, allowing the dreamer to connect with particular energies or spirits during their dream journey. Shamans, with their extensive knowledge of these symbols, would use them to guide the dreamer through the spiritual world, helping them avoid pitfalls and find the wisdom they sought. Sacred geometry, too, played a crucial role in the dream trap. The Peruvians believed that certain geometric patterns held immense spiritual power. These patterns weren't just abstract concepts. They were considered to be the building blocks of the universe itself. From the spirals seen in nature to the squares and circles used in ceremonial objects, sacred geometry was woven into every aspect of Peruvian spiritual practice. These geometric shapes were used in rituals, in art, and in the objects used in the dream trap, all of which were designed to guide the dreamer toward specific spiritual insights. Take the spiral, for example. The spiral was a common symbol in Peruvian art and ritual. It represented the cyclical nature of life, the passage of time, and the eternal flow of spiritual energy. In the context of dreams, the spiral symbolized the journey of the soul as it moved through different spiritual realms. Shamans would use this symbol to help the dreamer navigate the labyrinth of the spirit world, ensuring that they would emerge with the guidance they needed. The spiral was also linked to the idea of transformation, a key concept in the Peruvian understanding of life, death, and the afterlife. It was through dreams, guided by sacred symbols like the spiral, that the soul could experience this transformation and find its true path. In addition to geometric symbols, animals played a crucial role in the spiritual practices surrounding dreams. The jaguar, as mentioned earlier, was one of the most powerful symbols in Peruvian culture. It represented strength, stealth, and the ability to navigate between worlds. In the dream realm, the jaguar was believed to be a guide, one that could help the dreamer move through the spiritual landscape with grace and power. Shamans would often invoke the spirit of the jaguar during their rituals, using its energy to protect the dreamer and guide them toward wisdom. Similarly, other animals, such as the eagle, snake, and llama, were used to represent different spiritual qualities. Each animal had its own power, and each was associated with specific aspects of the dream journey. These animal symbols were not just used as metaphors. They were believed to embody real, tangible energies that could be called upon during rituals. The dreamer would interact with these symbols in their dreams, engaging with the animal spirits to receive guidance, protection, and insight. This interaction was a form of spiritual communication, one that allowed the dreamer to enter into a deeper relationship with the forces of the natural world. Rituals, of course, were the means through which these symbols and energies were activated. The Peruvians understood that dreams were not something that could be simply willed into existence. They believed that to access the dream world, one had to follow a specific set of rituals, each designed to prepare the body, mind, and soul of the journey ahead. These rituals involved both physical and mental preparation, ensuring that the dreamer would be receptive to the guidance of the spirit world. One of the most important elements of these rituals was the use of sound. Shamans would often chant, drum, or use other rhythmic sounds to help the dreamer enter into a trance-like state. The rhythm of the sound was believed to align the dreamer's energy with the spiritual forces they were about to encounter. The sound was not just a tool to induce a trance. It was a way to create harmony between the dreamer's physical self and the spiritual energies of the world. It acted as a kind of anchor, helping the dreamer stay connected to the ritual, while also allowing them to journey deeper into the spirit world. The use of sound also extended to the language of the rituals themselves. Shamans would often speak in ancient languages or use specific words and phrases that were believed to hold spiritual power. These words, often passed down through generations, carried with them the weight of history and tradition. By speaking these sacred words, the shaman could invoke powerful spiritual forces and guide the dreamer toward the answers they sought. The language of the ritual was as important as the symbols and the sounds. It was the key that unlocked the door to the spirit world. In many ways, the ritual surrounding the dream trap was a performance, one that required skill, timing, and precision. The shaman had to be both a performer and a guide, leading the dreamer through the spiritual landscape while also protecting them from the dangers that lay within. The dream trap, in this context, wasn't just a passive experience. It was an active process, one that required participation from both the dreamer and the shaman. Together, they would navigate the dream world, guided by the symbols, sounds, and rituals that had been passed down through generations. As we begin to understand the complexity of these rituals, it's clear that the dream trap was not a simple or easy process. It required immense knowledge, skill, and respect for the spiritual forces that governed the universe. The Peruvians knew that dreams were powerful, capable of guiding, protecting, and even transforming the soul. And it was through these elaborate rituals that they were able to harness that power, using it for the benefit of both the individual and the community. As we continue to explore the world of the dream trap, it's worth reflecting on how different the Peruvian approach to dreams was from our own. In modern society, we often dismiss dreams as mere byproducts of our subconscious mind. But for the ancient Peruvians, dreams were sacred, powerful, and essential to their spiritual practice. They saw dreams not just as fleeting moments of sleep, but as integral parts of their spiritual journey, a journey that was guided by symbols, rituals, and the natural world itself. At this point in our exploration of the ancient Peruvian dream trap, we've already touched on how dreams were both shaped and understood through rituals, symbols, and sacred objects. But as with any complex cultural practice, there are always layers that require deeper reflection. Let's now dive into the more mystical aspects of the dream trap, how it was connected to the greater spiritual journey, and how the Peruvian belief system shaped their understanding of death and the afterlife through dreams. In the Andean worldview, death was not seen as an end, but rather as a transformation. The Peruvians believed that death was a journey, a passage into another realm, one that was governed by its own set of spiritual rules. In fact, the Peruvian concept of the afterlife was as intricate and important as their view of life itself. The dream trap, which had such an essential role in guiding the living, also played a vital role in guiding souls after death. The ritualistic elements of the dream trap, including the use of sacred symbols and ceremonial objects, were believed to assist the soul in navigating its passage from the physical world to the spiritual one. This belief was deeply rooted in the idea of continuity between life and death. The Peruvians didn't see death as a final separation, but as a continuation of the soul's journey. When a person died, their spirit was believed to enter the dream world, where it would undergo a journey of its own. Just as dreams in life could offer guidance, healing, or prophecy, so too could they help navigate the path of the soul after death. In this sense, the dream trap was a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, guiding the soul not just during life, but in its journey to the afterlife. The dream trap didn't just serve as a protective mechanism for the living. It also acted as a guide for those who had passed on. After death, the soul would enter the spiritual realm, where it would encounter trials, tests, and challenges. Shamans, through their rituals and deep spiritual connection, would help the departed navigate these challenges. The dream trap, in this context, served as a map, a tool that helped the deceased travel safely through the various levels of the spirit world. The role of the dream trap in the afterlife is evident in many ancient Andean burial practices. The dead were often buried with symbolic objects, including ritual tools, pottery, and textiles, which were believed to help guide their spirit on its journey. These items weren't just meant to accompany the dead. They were believed to have spiritual significance, helping the deceased navigate the afterlife in much the same way they would have navigated life. In some cases, the deceased were even buried with offerings to the spirits, foods, precious items, and even ritual garments, to ensure that they would have everything they needed to make a successful transition. As with the living, the Peruvians believed that dreams could serve as a guide for the deceased. Shamans would perform special rites to ensure that the dead would receive guidance through their dreams, preparing them for their journey into the spiritual realm. These rites were seen as vital, as they ensured that the soul would not become lost or trapped in the liminal spaces between worlds. The dream trap, in this context, was a spiritual tool that ensured safe passage and transformation for the soul. Historians still debate the exact role of dreams in the Peruvian afterlife. Some believe that the dream world was seen as a reflection of the afterlife itself, with dreams serving as a preview of the soul's journey through the spiritual realms. Others suggest that the Peruvians believed the afterlife was not one singular space, but a complex journey through various levels of existence, each of which could be influenced by dreams. Regardless of the exact interpretation, it's clear that the connection between dreams, death, and the afterlife was central to the Peruvian worldview. In the present day, the legacy of these beliefs can still be seen in the spiritual practices of modern Peru. While the specific practices surrounding the dream trap have faded over time, the reverence for dreams, ancestors, and the afterlife remains a key part of Andean spirituality. Shamans continue to play an important role in the lives of the people, guiding them through the challenges of life and the spiritual realm, just as their ancestors did. Even today, many Andean communities still believe in the power of dreams to offer guidance and protection. Shamans are called upon to interpret dreams and provide counsel, just as they were in ancient times. And while the rituals may have evolved, the core belief remains the same. Dreams are a bridge between the physical world and the spiritual realm, and they hold the power to shape our lives, guide our destinies, and help us navigate the mysteries of the afterlife. As you drift off to sleep tonight, consider for a moment how different the world might be if dreams weren't just fleeting experiences, but vital connections to the spiritual forces that shape our lives. Imagine, if you will, a world where every dream has a purpose, where every vision offers insight into the past, present, and future, and where the journey of the soul is guided through both life and death by the sacred art of the dream trap. This was the reality for the ancient Peruvians, a world where dreams were not just figments of the imagination, but active, spiritual forces that shaped both the individual and the community. The dream trap was a testament to their belief in the interconnectedness of all things, and it offered a glimpse into a world where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual were blurred, and where dreams held the power to guide, protect, and transform. We've now uncovered how the dream trap was used to navigate not only the realms of life, but also the realms of death. But what of the more practical aspects of these dream rituals, the day-to-day elements that allowed the Peruvians to interact with the spiritual world through dreams? To truly understand the dream trap, we must look at how these practices were woven into the fabric of everyday life, how the dream world was not just a place for shamanic rituals or afterlife journeys, but a tool that helped shape decisions, influence actions, and guide the lives of ordinary people. The ancient Peruvians, despite their profound spiritual practices, were a practical people. Their survival depended on agriculture, hunting, and the preservation of community welfare. Dreams were seen as a resource, a tool that could be used to improve and enrich daily life. In this way, the dream trap wasn't just about lofty spiritual ideals or mystical journeys. It was a highly functional aspect of life, one that helped guide everyday decisions. Dreams, for the Peruvians, were often seen as an extension of the wisdom provided by the natural world. They weren't just abstract or meaningless experiences. Instead, they were tools of guidance that could be directly applied to the problems people faced in their daily lives. Whether it was figuring out when to plant crops, where to hunt, or how to heal someone who was sick, dreams were used to help people make informed decisions. The dream trap, as a ritualistic process, was a way of ensuring that only the most useful, relevant dreams would emerge. Dreams that were clear, purposeful, and actionable. For example, when a shaman had a vision about the best time to plant crops, that vision was often shared with the entire village. These agricultural dreams, interpreted by shamans, were used as a form of prophecy. If the dream indicated that the land was fertile and it was the right time to plant, the community would heed the dream's guidance. Conversely, if the dream showed that bad weather or pests were likely, preparations would be made to protect the crops. In this way, the dream trap had a direct impact on the food security of the people. Dreams were also used to ensure the health and well-being of the community. Shamans would often receive visions related to illness or health issues. These dreams were not just symbolic, but were believed to be direct messages from the spiritual realm about how to heal the body or cure disease. Shamans could interpret these dreams to identify the causes of illness, whether they were physical or spiritual, and prescribe remedies, which might include herbal treatments, spiritual cleansings, or even offerings to the gods. In some cases, healing dreams might reveal the proper plants to use, or the right ritual to perform. The dream trap, therefore, was a vital tool in maintaining the health of the community, allowing the Peruvians to address problems before they became crises. But the dream trap wasn't just about practical matters. It also served a more personal function. Individual dreamers, too, would seek out guidance through their dreams. Whether it was to find a missing person, make a difficult decision, or even find love, the Peruvians believed that dreams could provide insight into these matters. Shamans were often called upon to interpret personal dreams, offering advice on what actions the dreamer should take based on the symbols and messages revealed during their dream journey. What's fascinating is how the Peruvians blended these personal and communal aspects of dreams. A personal dream about a potential danger might be shared with the community, which could then take steps to prevent the harm. Conversely, a collective vision could lead to changes in individual behavior, especially when the dream was deemed to be particularly important for the welfare of the group. This interplay between the personal and the communal is one of the most striking aspects of the Peruvian dream trap. The dream trap, in this sense, acted as a kind of social contract. The wisdom gleaned from dreams wasn't just for personal gain. It was meant to benefit the entire community. This was part of the larger Andean worldview, where the individual's actions were always intertwined with the well-being of the group. In this respect, the dream trap is a tool that reinforced social cohesion, ensuring that everyone acted in harmony with the collective needs of the community. Historians still argue whether the dream trap was more of a spiritual or a practical tool. Some believe that its role in guiding the community's daily life was secondary to its spiritual significance. Others argue that the dream trap was primarily a practical tool, one that allowed the Peruvians to navigate the natural world in a way that was both efficient and spiritually informed. But it's clear that both aspects, spiritual and practical, were deeply intertwined. Dreams weren't just about personal visions of the divine. They were about understanding the rhythms of the world, making decisions that impacted the community, and ensuring the survival and prosperity of the group. Even today, many Andean communities still hold on to this belief in the power of dreams. Modern-day shamans continue to serve as both spiritual guides and practical advisors, offering insight not only into the mysteries of the soul, but also into the everyday decisions people face. And while the specific rituals of the dream trap may no longer be practiced in the same way, the belief in the power of dreams to guide and protect remains strong. As you reflect on the role of dreams in the ancient Peruvian world, consider how they might serve a similar function in your own life. What would it be like if dreams weren't just fleeting images, but active, functional tools guiding your decisions, helping you navigate challenges, and providing you with insights into the future? In the ancient Peruvian world, dreams were not just personal experiences. They were part of a larger, interconnected web of knowledge that helped shape both individual lives and the fate of the entire community. The dream trap, then, was not simply about catching or controlling dreams. It was about fostering a connection between the individual, the community, and the spiritual world. It was a way to align personal experiences with the larger forces that shaped the world, ensuring that the wisdom of the ancestors, the power of nature, and the spiritual realm were always accessible and useful in the lives of the people. As we've seen, the dream trap wasn't merely about harnessing the power of dreams. It was a complex system that bridged the physical world with the spiritual, with profound implications for the Peruvian way of life. But as with any ancient belief system, there's always the question of what happened when things didn't go according to plan. What happened when the dream trap failed? Or when the dreams captured within it were misinterpreted? Or worse, were believed to have been corrupted by malevolent forces? The consequences were far from trivial. In a society where dreams were integral to survival, failure to properly interpret or harness them could lead to social upheaval, health crises, or even death. The Peruvians didn't view dreams as benign experiences, where misinterpretation was merely a minor inconvenience. Instead, dreams were regarded as critical insights into both personal and collective well-being. A misinterpreted dream, one that was seen as a warning of an impending threat but was ignored, could lead to disastrous outcomes. For example, a dream about a natural disaster, like an earthquake or a flood, might be disregarded due to a poor interpretation, causing the community to be unprepared when disaster struck. Similarly, dreams that predicted an illness or a famine were viewed as warnings, and their proper interpretation was seen as the difference between life and death. When dreams were mishandled, the community often turned to the shaman to correct the situation. Shamans were not only dream interpreters, they were also healers, problem solvers, and protectors of the community. If a dream was interpreted incorrectly, or if the wrong course of action was taken based on a dream, It was up to the shaman to perform corrective rituals to set things right. These corrective rituals might involve further dream journeys, additional offerings to the gods, or even purification ceremonies to rid the community of negative spiritual influences. In some cases, these misinterpreted dreams were seen as signs that malevolent forces, either spiritual or supernatural, had interfered with the dreamer's journey. These forces could be vengeful ancestors, jealous deities, or spirits bent on causing harm. To restore balance, the shaman would have to identify and confront these forces, performing rituals to cleanse the community and neutralize the threat. In this sense, the dream trap wasn't just a protective tool. It was also a means of maintaining spiritual balance and ensuring that negative forces didn't disrupt the lives of the living. The failure of the dream trap could also be seen as a sign of personal failure. A dream that went unheeded or was misinterpreted might be seen as an indication that the dreamer had failed to properly connect with the spiritual world. Shamans, in such cases, would often perform purification rituals to realign the dreamer's spiritual energy, helping them to reconnect with the forces that governed their dreams. The idea was that the dreamer needed to be spiritually attuned in order for the dream to be interpreted properly. If a person was out of balance, their dreams might become distorted, difficult to understand, or misleading. In this way, the dream trap functioned as both a tool for guidance and a way to realign the dreamer with their spiritual path. On a larger scale, the failure of the dream trap could threaten the stability of the entire community. If dreams that warned of disaster were misinterpreted or ignored, it could lead to catastrophic consequences for the group. This was particularly important in agricultural societies, like that of the ancient Peruvians, where dreams were often used to determine the timing of planting and harvesting. A misinterpreted dream that indicated the wrong time for planting could result in crop failure and food shortages, which could, in turn, cause widespread famine. Similarly, if a dream that foretold a bad harvest was dismissed, the entire community might suffer. Therefore, the correct interpretation of dreams wasn't just a matter of personal or spiritual importance. It was a matter of survival. In some ways, the dream trap acted as a spiritual safety net. While its primary function was to guide and protect, it also served as a kind of spiritual insurance policy. Even when things went wrong, when dreams were misinterpreted, or when they failed to provide the answers people were looking for, the community could always turn to the shaman to correct the course. The dream trap, in this sense, was a safeguard against the uncertainties of the spiritual world. It provided a structure through which the Peruvians could make sense of the chaos around them and ensure that their actions were aligned with the will of the spirits. This was particularly important in a world where the line between life and death was often seen as thin. The Peruvians believed that the spirit world was constantly influencing the physical world, and that the health, prosperity, and fate of the community were closely tied to the spiritual energies that surrounded them. The dream trap, therefore, wasn't just a tool for spiritual insight. It was a tool for maintaining the stability and well-being of the entire society. Even today, the echoes of these practices remain. While modern Peruvians may no longer actively participate in dream rituals in the same way, the cultural significance of dreams and spiritual guidance remains important. Shamans continue to play a role in many communities, providing spiritual counsel, interpreting dreams, and offering guidance in times of crisis. While the specific mechanisms of the dream trap may have faded, the belief in the power of dreams to shape both individual lives and collective destinies persists. The dream trap, in all its complexity, was a system that allowed the Peruvians to navigate the unknown, to use the power of dreams not just as a source of wisdom, but as a practical tool for survival. It was a system that intertwined the spiritual and the practical, the personal and the communal. Dreams weren't just dreams. They were messages, warnings, guides, and tools that shaped every aspect of the Peruvian world. The dream trap was a vital part of that system, and its legacy lives on, not just in the rituals of the past, but in the spiritual practices of today. So, as you prepare to drift into your own dreams tonight, consider the significance of the dreams you might experience. What if your dreams were not just random flickers of the mind, but messages guiding you toward deeper understanding and clearer action? What if they held the answers to life's biggest questions, or offered a glimpse into the forces that govern our world? In the world of the ancient Peruvians, dreams were not just an escape. They were a tool, a guide, and a connection to something greater. The dream trap wasn't just a practice, it was a way of life. As we reflect on the practical and spiritual roles of the dream trap, it's important to consider how the ancient Peruvians saw their relationship with the divine through dreams. Dreams, for them, weren't just personal experiences or private journeys. They were seen as a medium through which the divine communicated with the people, offering guidance, protection, and insight from the gods, ancestors, and the forces of nature itself. But what made these dreams so sacred? And why was the shaman, the spiritual leader of the community, so integral to ensuring their success? To answer this, we need to dive deeper into the Peruvian concept of divinity. In their view, the gods were not distant, untouchable beings. Instead, they were present in every aspect of the world. The mountains, rivers, trees, animals, and even the stars. These gods and spiritual forces were seen as actively engaged in the lives of the people. The Peruvians didn't pray to the gods from a distance. They believed that by performing rituals, making offerings, and seeking guidance through dreams, they could connect directly with the divine, shaping their lives and the fate of their community. This deep, personal connection to the divine was one of the cornerstones of the dream trap. Shamans, as intermediaries between the human and spiritual worlds, had a vital role in ensuring that dreams were not only interpreted correctly, but that they were connected to the greater spiritual forces of the universe. Shamans didn't just interpret dreams. They acted as guides, helping the dreamer navigate the messages of the gods and spirits. The dream trap was a way to ensure that this communication was clear, meaningful, and beneficial. The rituals surrounding the dream trap weren't just about creating the right conditions for a dream to happen. They were about aligning the dreamer's spiritual energy with that of the gods. Shamans would prepare the space, the mind, and the body to receive the divine messages hidden within the dreams. This preparation wasn't just about physical comfort. It was about attuning the dreamer's soul to the divine energies that flowed through the universe. In this way, the dreamer wasn't just a passive receiver of messages. They were an active participant in a divine conversation. To understand how this connection with the divine worked, let's look at one of the most important rituals involved in the dream trap: the use of sacred offerings. The Peruvians believed that by offering gifts to the gods, they could create a channel through which dreams could be sent and interpreted. These offerings could include food, textiles, ceremonial objects, and even symbolic gestures, such as chanting or dancing. The purpose of these offerings was to create a bond between the dreamer and the divine realm, making it easier for the gods to communicate with the living. In a way, the dream trap can be seen as a spiritual communication device, a way for the Peruvians to receive divine messages, interpret them, and take action accordingly. But the key element here is that the Peruvians didn't simply wait for the gods to send their messages. They actively created the conditions in which these messages could be received. The dream trap was a system of spiritual discipline, one that required both the dreamer and the shaman to be deeply attuned to the energies of the universe. Now, as we explore this connection between the divine and dreams, let's turn our attention to one of the most fascinating aspects of the Peruvian belief system: their understanding of the cyclical nature of existence. The ancient Peruvians didn't see life as a linear progression from birth to death. Instead, they viewed life, death, and rebirth as part of a never-ending cycle, one that was intricately connected to the rhythms of nature. This cyclical view of existence shaped their approach to dreams in profound ways. In the Peruvian worldview, the dreamer's journey was not just about understanding the present moment, but about connecting to the larger cycles of life. Dreams were seen as a way to tap into these cycles, receiving insight not only about one's own personal journey, but also about the broader forces that governed the world. This connection to the cycles of life made the dream trap a deeply spiritual practice, one that went beyond individual experience to encompass the collective, the cosmic, and the eternal. The dream trap was, therefore, a tool for aligning oneself with the natural rhythms of life and death. Shamans, through their knowledge of the spirit world and the cycles of nature, could guide the dreamer through these cycles, helping them to understand their place within the greater cosmic order. Dreams were seen as a way to participate in this eternal cycle, to receive guidance on how to live in harmony with the universe, and to prepare for the transition to the next phase of existence. This belief in the cyclical nature of life also had practical implications. As the Peruvians looked to the future, whether in terms of agriculture, health, or social stability, they relied on dreams to help them understand the flow of time. Dreams weren't just viewed as random, disconnected events. They were seen as glimpses into the ongoing cycles of life, providing insights into what had happened in the past, what was happening in the present, and what might happen in the future. The dream trap, in this context, was not just a way to interpret dreams. It was a way to tap into the larger cycles of existence and align one's life with those cycles. Interestingly, this cyclical view of existence is still present in modern-day Andean culture. While the specific practices surrounding the dream trap have evolved, the fundamental belief in the cyclical nature of life and the interconnectedness of all things remains central to the spiritual practices of many indigenous communities in Peru. This worldview is reflected in their respect for the land, their rituals, and their continued belief in the power of dreams to guide and shape their lives. So, as we come to the end of our exploration into the ancient Peruvian dream trap, it's worth reflecting on the profound connection between dreams, the divine, and the cyclical rhythms of life. The Peruvians didn't just view dreams as a passive experience. They saw them as a means of actively engaging with the forces of nature, the gods, and the spiritual world. The dream trap, in this context, was not merely a practice for capturing dreams. It was a tool for aligning the dreamer with the cosmic order, ensuring that they could navigate the cycles of life with wisdom, grace, and spiritual clarity. And as you fall asleep tonight, imagine entering a world where your dreams weren't just fleeting thoughts, but vital messages from the divine, messages that help guide your life and shape your destiny. What would it be like to live in a world where dreams were not just abstract experiences, but essential tools for understanding the universe? This was the reality of the ancient Peruvians, where every dream was a doorway, a portal, and a guide to the greater forces that shaped their world. As we move closer to the end of our exploration of the ancient Peruvian dream trap, it's important to reflect on how this belief system intersects with modern understandings of dreams and consciousness. The ancient Peruvians had an extraordinarily sophisticated view of the mind and its relationship with the spiritual world, one that transcends the more rudimentary interpretations of dreams we often encounter today. While contemporary Western culture tends to dismiss dreams as mere neurological phenomena or products of the subconscious mind, the Peruvians saw them as vibrant, interconnected experiences with deep spiritual and communal significance. Understanding their view of dreams offers a profound perspective on how we might approach our own experiences with sleep and dreams in the modern world. In the context of the dream trap, the Peruvian understanding of dreams was highly holistic. It wasn't enough to simply interpret a dream or to identify it as a random occurrence. For the Peruvians, dreams were seen as an active and ongoing dialogue between the dreamer and the spiritual world. Whether it was through their connection to their ancestors, the gods, or the forces of nature, dreams were viewed as vital, active communications that shaped the individual's life and the fate of the community. This active connection between dreams and the spiritual world, guided by the shaman, ensured that no dream was ever meaningless. The dream trap, therefore, wasn't simply about creating the conditions for a dream to happen. It was about preparing the dreamer, both physically and spiritually, to enter a state of heightened awareness. Just as the Peruvians used specific rituals, sacred symbols, and offerings to connect to the spiritual realm, they also used these tools to focus the mind and prepare it for the dream journey. This preparation wasn't limited to the ritualistic and ceremonial aspects of the dream trap. It was also about cultivating the right mindset, one that could tune in to the deeper currents of the universe. Interestingly, the Peruvian approach to dreaming bears a striking resemblance to modern-day practices like lucid dreaming, where the dreamer becomes consciously aware of their dreams and may even have some control over them. While the Peruvians may not have had the term lucid dreaming in their vocabulary, their dream practices suggest a deep awareness that dreams could be shaped and directed. The dream trap was, in essence, a spiritual and psychological tool that allowed individuals to influence their dreams in ways that were not only beneficial to them personally, but also to the community as a whole. Lucid dreaming and dream control, however, were not solely the purview of the individual. In ancient Peru, the communal aspect of dream interpretation was just as important as the personal one. Dreams were often shared and discussed with the group, and the shaman's role was not just to interpret a dream, but to place it within a larger context of the community's needs and well-being. This collective approach to dreams and their interpretation reinforces the idea that the Peruvian dream trap wasn't just about individual spirituality. It was a way for the entire community to stay aligned with the forces that shaped their world. What's even more fascinating is that, in a way, the dream trap system reflects modern understandings of the interconnectedness of consciousness and the environment. The ancient Peruvians understood that dreams were not just isolated events. They were deeply influenced by the natural world, the community, and the spiritual forces that governed all of life. Shamans used their knowledge of the natural world, its plants, animals, and geography, to help direct the dreamer's journey. The dream trap, in this sense, acted as a microcosm of the larger relationship between the individual and the collective, between the material world and the spiritual one. In contrast to the highly individualistic approach to dreams that many cultures, including Western ones, take today, the Peruvian view of dreams was inherently communal. A dream was never just about the dreamer. It was about how that dream fit into the broader tapestry of the community's spiritual life. The dream trap, in this sense, was not just a personal tool for insight. It was a social mechanism that helped to ensure that everyone in the community was in alignment with the divine forces that shaped their existence. This communal approach to dreams is perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of the Peruvian dream trap. While modern society tends to view dreams as private experiences, something that happens to the individual alone, the Peruvians understood that dreams had a broader societal function. The dream trap was a way of ensuring that the messages from the spirit world were not only understood, but used to guide collective decision-making, communal health, and social cohesion. Whether it was a dream about the changing seasons, a warning about a coming storm, or a prophecy about a leader, dreams had the power to shape the future of the entire community. So, as we reflect on the legacy of the dream trap, it's clear that its influence extends far beyond the rituals of ancient Peru. While the specific practices may have faded, the core belief in the power of dreams to shape reality remains a vital part of many cultures, including those in the Andes today. The dream trap serves as a reminder that our dreams are not just isolated events that happen in the dark hours of the night. They are connected to something much larger than ourselves. They are, in a sense, part of the ongoing dialogue between the individual, the community, and the forces of nature and spirit that shape the world. In the end, the dream trap wasn't just a system of controlling dreams. It was a system of connection. It was a way to ensure that the dreamer, the community, and the spirit world were all in harmony, working together toward a common goal. And though the specific practices may have evolved, the underlying message remains the same. Dreams are not just personal. They are communal, spiritual, and profoundly interconnected with the larger forces that govern our world. As you prepare to close your eyes tonight, think of the ancient Peruvians and their profound connection to the dream world. What if your dreams, too, held the key to something much larger than yourself? What if they were not just fleeting moments, but the gateway to a deeper connection with the forces that shape your life? In this way, the legacy of the dream trap continues to offer wisdom, guidance, and insight, waiting for anyone who is open to it. As we continue to reflect on the ancient Peruvian dream trap and its place in their spiritual system, it's clear that dreams were far more than a tool for guidance. They were a vital part of maintaining balance and harmony in the lives of the people. But what happens when this balance is disrupted, either by outside forces or internal conflict? What were the consequences for an individual or community when their dreams, their sacred connection to the spirit world, were broken or distorted? In the ancient Peruvian worldview, maintaining harmony between the physical and spiritual realms wasn't just about having good dreams. It was about maintaining balance in all aspects of life. This balance was fragile, and it could be easily disrupted. If a dream was misinterpreted or disregarded, it could lead to dire consequences, whether that be a failed harvest, a loss of community cohesion, or even the death of an individual. The Peruvians understood that dreams were powerful forces, and they recognized that misalignments in the dream world could lead to chaos in the physical one. When the dream trap failed, whether due to improper rituals or a lack of spiritual alignment, the shaman would often have to intervene. Shamans weren't just spiritual guides. They were healers who understood the intricate relationship between the mind, body, and spirit. If a person's dream was misaligned or distorted, it could affect their physical health, emotional well-being, and even their ability to function in the community. A dream that was distorted by malevolent spirits, for example, could cause illness or confusion in the dreamer. A failed dream ritual could lead to a breakdown in communication with the gods, causing the community to lose direction. The Peruvians also believed that when someone's dreams became disrupted, it could signify an imbalance within that person's soul. Dreams were not seen merely as subconscious projections. They were viewed as the direct reflection of the soul's connection to the divine. If the dreamer was troubled or misaligned spiritually, their dreams would reflect this discord. Shamans would perform rituals to realign the dreamer's spiritual energy, helping them to reconnect with the forces of the spirit world. This realignment was often an arduous process, involving purification rituals, offerings to the gods, and meditative practices to restore harmony. But the failure of the dream trap wasn't always something that could be easily corrected. In some cases, if a person's spiritual balance was too far gone, their dreams could become corrupted beyond repair. In these situations, the Peruvians believed that the person might be lost to the spiritual world, unable to find their way back to the divine guidance that dreams once provided. This loss was not just a personal tragedy. It was a communal one. The failure to restore balance to an individual's spiritual energy could lead to a breakdown in the harmony of the entire community, as the individual's energy would no longer contribute to the collective spiritual well-being. Even in these cases of profound disconnection, however, the community would continue to honor the spirit world and the forces of nature. The Peruvians understood that every individual's journey was part of a larger cosmic order, and they believed that even in times of crisis, the spiritual world could offer a path to healing and reconciliation. Shamans, armed with their deep spiritual knowledge, would work tirelessly to restore the dreamer's connection with the divine, knowing that the fate of the individual was inextricably linked to the fate of the community. The failure of the dream trap also had significant implications for the shaman themselves. Shamans were not just dream interpreters. They were spiritual gatekeepers, tasked with ensuring that the flow of dreams remained untainted and clear. If a dream trap ritual failed, the shaman's authority could be called into question. Shamans were deeply respected, but their position was precarious. They were held accountable for the integrity of the dream rituals, and if a dream trap did not yield the desired results, they had to answer for it. This responsibility was not taken lightly. The shaman's ability to maintain spiritual harmony was paramount. It was their job to protect the community from spiritual harm and to ensure that the dreams the community received were clear, helpful, and true. The consequences of failure, however, went beyond individual responsibility. The entire community could suffer if dreams were misaligned or if the dream trap was disrupted. Dream rituals were not just a personal experience. They were a communal practice that shaped the decisions and actions of the group. If the dreams of one person were out of alignment, it could have ripple effects throughout the entire community. For example, if the dreams of a leader were disrupted, their decisions could negatively impact the entire group. A misinterpreted dream about war, for instance, could lead to unnecessary conflict. A dream about a famine, if not properly understood, could lead to panic and mismanagement of resources. Therefore, the dream trap acted as a safety net for the community, ensuring that the dreamer's spiritual energy was properly aligned with the needs of the collective. By maintaining spiritual harmony, the Peruvians believed that they could protect their community from harm. But when the dream trap failed, the entire system of spiritual protection could break down, leaving the community vulnerable to external and internal forces. What's fascinating is how modern psychology, particularly the study of dreams, mirrors some of these ancient beliefs. Freud and Jung both acknowledged the deep connection between dreams and the unconscious mind, and their theories of dream analysis have shaped our understanding of dreams as pathways to insight. The idea that dreams can guide us, reveal hidden truths, and provide spiritual guidance is not far removed from the beliefs held by the ancient Peruvians. The Peruvians may not have had the same terminology or scientific understanding of dreams as we do today, but their belief in the profound spiritual significance of dreams is something that resonates even in modern times. The dream trap was ultimately a tool for ensuring that the spiritual and physical realms remained in balance. Whether through rituals, symbols, or communal practices, the Peruvians understood that dreams held the power to shape their lives. The dream trap was a mechanism for guiding and protecting individuals, and through them, the community. As we look back on this ancient system, we can appreciate how deeply integrated dreams were into the spiritual and social fabric of the Peruvian world, something that's still reflected in spiritual practices today. As we arrive at the final section of our journey through the ancient Peruvian dream trap, it's time to reflect on the lasting legacy of this powerful spiritual practice. While the rituals, symbols, and methods of dream interpretation may have evolved, the fundamental beliefs behind the dream trap still resonate in many parts of the world today. The Peruvian understanding of dreams was not just about interpreting visions during sleep. It was about living in harmony with the natural world, connecting deeply with the spirit realm, and ensuring the survival and well-being of the community. So, what is the legacy of the dream trap? And how does it inform our understanding of dreams in the modern world? The most profound takeaway from the ancient Peruvian dream trap is the idea that dreams are not mere byproducts of the subconscious, but active, spiritual experiences that connect us with a deeper understanding of the universe. The Peruvians saw dreams as channels through which the divine communicated directly with the living, offering insights, warnings, and guidance. This worldview places dreams at the center of life, not as peripheral experiences to be ignored or dismissed, but as vital tools for personal and communal growth. Today, while many cultures and individuals may not have the same deeply ritualistic approach to dreams, the Peruvian legacy lives on in the way we view dreams as meaningful experiences. In modern psychology, we see echoes of the Peruvian belief that dreams can reveal truths about our subconscious, guide our decision-making, and offer insights into our spiritual lives. Just as the Peruvians used dreams to navigate the complexities of their world, we too can look to our dreams for guidance, clarity, and understanding. In fact, the modern fascination with lucid dreaming, where the dreamer becomes aware of and often takes control of their dreams, may be seen as a continuation of the ancient practice of dream manipulation. The Peruvian shaman's role as a guide to the dream world can be likened to the modern lucid dreamer's role in guiding themselves through their own dreams. Just as the Peruvians believed that dreams could be shaped and directed to reveal wisdom, modern dream practices continue to explore the ways in which we can engage with our dreams to achieve personal growth. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Peruvian approach to dreams is its communal nature. The dream trap wasn't just a personal practice, it was a communal one. Dreams were shared, interpreted, and acted upon collectively, with the shaman serving as the intermediary between the dreamer and the divine. This communal interpretation of dreams contrasts sharply with the individualistic approach to dreams that is common in modern Western culture. In a world where personal experience often takes precedence over collective well-being, the Peruvian emphasis on using dreams to guide the community is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all people. The idea that dreams can serve the greater good of the community is particularly relevant in today's world. In a time of global challenges, whether it be climate change, political unrest, or social divisions, the collective wisdom of humanity can offer guidance on how to navigate these crises. While we may not be able to rely on dream interpretation in the same way the Peruvians did, the concept of working together to interpret and act on collective experiences remains relevant. The dream trap, in this sense, serves as a metaphor for the ways in which we can come together as a global community to find solutions to the world's problems by interpreting the signs and messages that arise from our collective consciousness. Furthermore, the Peruvian belief in the interconnectedness of all things, human, animal, plant, and spiritual, reminds us of our own relationship with the natural world. Today, we are increasingly aware of the need to live in harmony with nature, to understand that the health of our planet is tied to our own well-being. The Peruvian worldview, in which dreams were seen as a direct reflection of the natural world and the forces that governed it, provides valuable insight into how we can live more consciously and in tune with the earth. Just as the Peruvians believed that the forces of nature influence their dreams, we too are beginning to recognize the deep spiritual and environmental connections that shape our lives. The legacy of the dream trap is also reflected in the continued importance of dreams in many indigenous cultures around the world. Shamans and spiritual leaders in various parts of the globe still use dreams as tools for guidance, healing, and prophecy. These practices, much like the dream trap of ancient Peru, highlight the enduring belief that dreams are not just fleeting experiences, but portals to deeper understanding. Whether it's through the use of sacred plants, rituals, or guided dream journeys, the practice of interpreting and acting on dreams continues to play a vital role in many spiritual traditions. And finally, as we conclude our journey through the dream trap, it's worth considering how we can integrate the lessons of the ancient Peruvians into our own lives. The dream trap wasn't just about understanding the messages of the spirit world. It was about using those messages to live a better, more harmonious life. It was about aligning with the natural rhythms of the world, listening to the wisdom of the ancestors, and making decisions that benefited not just the individual, but the entire community. While our understanding of dreams may differ from that of the ancient Peruvians, the fundamental message remains the same. Dreams are powerful. They are meaningful, and they can guide us toward greater understanding and personal growth. So, as you drift into sleep tonight, remember that your dreams, too, have the potential to offer wisdom, guidance, and insight. Whether you believe in the power of dreams to connect you to the divine, or simply see them as a reflection of your subconscious mind, they hold a profound place in your life. Just as the ancient Peruvians used the dream trap to guide their decisions, protect their communities, and navigate the complexities of life, we too can look to our dreams for the answers we seek. The dream trap lives on, not just in the rituals of the past, but in our own dreams, guiding us through the mysteries of the present and future. As we wrap up our journey through the ancient Peruvian dream trap, we've uncovered how deeply intertwined dreams were with the spiritual, communal, and practical aspects of their lives. While the rituals and practices may have evolved over time, the core belief that dreams hold power to guide, protect, and shape our destinies continues to resonate today. Whether in the ancient Andes or in our modern world, dreams remain a mysterious and profound connection to the forces that shape our lives. So, as you rest tonight, take a moment to reflect on your own dreams. What guidance might they hold for you? What messages could the unseen world be offering you through the quiet whispers of sleep? In the spirit of the ancient Peruvians, may your dreams continue to be a source of insight and inspiration, guiding you to a more harmonious and fulfilling journey. Sweet dreams.